Hello and welcome to The Drug Trip. This channel is here to feed the curiosity of those who would like to gain an insight to the effects of various drugs and substances through user experiences and stories, with our main goal being to entertain and reduce harm and abuse. We post regular trip reports every few days, so if you do enjoy these, we would really appreciate it if you subscribed. And more importantly, we love to hear our viewers' thoughts, opinions and experiences, so please leave something for us in the comment section and we may use it in a future video. Enjoy and be safe. It was the first day of the new year, and some friends and I had indulged in a rather large amount of MDMA the night before. I was at a friend's house all day recovering from the MDMA when I was offered to try some DMT. The DMT had been extracted from Mimosa hostilis and was white. My friend had taken the extra step using a freezer to obtain a more pure product. I was in a good mood and ready to try something off the wall for a change. We had eaten a large breakfast to help us recover from the night before, and I had taken around 30 milligrams of ginkgo biloba standardized extract, 100 milligrams of coenzyme Q10, and a multivitamin with breakfast. I have tried approximately 40 milligrams of DMT once before in its smokable form, but I have never snorted it. I was a little sceptical at first because I prefer the shorter duration of the smoked DMT experience. I knew that DMT could be very intense from my previous experience, and I felt much more comfortable knowing that the time is on my side in case things get too intense. However, we had no DMT pipe. I felt the omens calling me that day. The first one was just as we were about to turn off the television. Someone on the TV said, "Breakthrough." The second omen was the weather outside. It was just perfect and beautiful. I knew that I needed to conquer my fears of DMT, so I decided to do it on that day, knowing that if I didn't, I would be disappointed at myself for letting fear get the best of me. My friend lined up a fat line of around 100 milligrams of white, fluffy DMT extract after weighing it. It looked like a lot, about the size of a fat cocaine dagger. He put on some very chill drum and bass, not too fast, not too dark. It was light outside, but the lights in the room were turned off. The TV was off and everything was quiet, except for the music. The music was like a continuous journey. You couldn't really tell where the tracks ended or began unless you were familiar with the CD. Just my friend, his girlfriend, and I were in the room, and I was given a CD case with the fat DMT line and a homemade tooter. I sniffed the whole line into my left nostril. It burned a little, but it wasn't too bad. I felt nothing for a couple of minutes, and then began to see some mild visuals. Playful, entertaining visuals covering the ceiling of the room in green and yellow colours, if I remember correctly. I was at peace, and I had sort of forgotten that I had even done DMT. Then a couple of minutes later, I was visited by many beings, too many to count or even acknowledge. Each of them would come and leave rather quickly, and they kept coming. I felt it was just best to relax and watch the scene, because it would have been too hard to make sense of it. It was rather pleasant and at the same time a bit overwhelming. The beings seemed to be studying me, all of them interested in something different. But I wasn't afraid. No two beings were the same. This part of the experience seemed pretty brief. I think this was when I first left my body and was no longer aware of being in my friend's room. Then I found myself experiencing the creation of mankind. I sort of felt like Neo in the Matrix, when he woke up with all those tubes going into his body inside of the tub where humans were being made for energy sources. Except there were no tubes and no machines, or matter as we know it on Earth. I was covered in a thick, pink, jelly-like material, and I could not free myself. I was not ready to be released because I had not fully matured enough to survive on my own. The technology involved was very alien, not resembling anything like human technology. I had the feeling that our creators were selfish for creating us, but that it is still good to be alive as a human nonetheless. Why did I feel that our creation was out of selfishness at the time? I do not know. But maybe in some secret way, we were created to unknowingly serve our creators. Nonetheless, I felt that they were okay with us enjoying life to its fullest, but I do not think they cared if we did not. I felt trapped there. I couldn't move anything except my jaw. It was too much to handle comfortably, and I waited patiently for this part of the experience to pass. I continued floating around the three-dimensional DMT space without anything too significant happening when I was found by a very advanced extraterrestrial being. His kind liked humanity, and they enjoyed helping humans evolve at a very fast rate. I could feel this being empowering me and showing me advanced things. He helped direct my awareness to different things, all of which were helpful to my evolution. Anytime my awareness shifted to something of no use, especially things that would enable fear, he would give me a nudge to not pay attention to it, but to focus on useful things that were good for me. He could also sense weakness in me as I brought them up from out my consciousness, and would help me overcome them. At the same time, this being was learning from his interaction with me. It was a positive experience. I learned that these beings existed amongst other types of beings, and they did not like each other, but instead of fighting, they just avoided one another in a respectful way. Knowing that engaging in problems was a waste of time, they knew what they wanted and applied themselves fervently to related tasks. The next part of the experience was the most frightening. I experienced the return of Jesus Christ as it is written in the Bible. I'm an atheist, but I still have some biblical/religious material in my subconscious mind from when I used to be Christian. This is what happened. Time stopped. The music I was listening to is very repetitive, so it can give me the sense that whatever is happening will happen for eternity when on powerful hallucinogens. I experienced Jesus returning, and at first it was awesome. I felt that all of existence was connected to this one moment, and that everyone knew that Jesus had returned. It was very intense, and everyone surrendered themselves. At first I believed that we were all waking up in heaven, learning how to use our heavenly bodies. But then I sensed that something terrible was about to happen. That terrible thing was judgment. I began judging myself, thinking about all of my imperfections, and I realised that I was about to be sent to an eternity in hell. I cried, and tried very hard to find some good in myself to latch onto, to show Jesus that although I didn't deserve heaven, I was certainly not fit for hell. I felt that it would be like to have your entire family stripped from you for all eternity, to be left in one place of torment and suffering with others who are also in the same kind of misery. It was a very brutally intense experience, and I honestly believed that this was going to last forever. Finally, that part passed, and I began to open my eyes again. I could finally recognise the room that I was in, and my two friends were sitting there in total silence. I was relieved, but the experience was not yet over. I was finally aware of the existence of time and realised that the drug would eventually weak off. I began to move to the music harmoniously in repetitive motions like a slithering snake as I lay in the same place on my friend's bed. It was very nice, and I had the feeling like this was expected of me from my friends, like it was a normal thing to do while being on DMT. It just came naturally, and I could not resist doing it. It was rather therapeutic. This continued through the music track that was playing. Then came this entity, or demon, or whatever, that tried to possess me. It was coercing me to become its sex slave. It offered me great things for my surrender and threatened bad things for my refusal. A battle took place between me and this sexual demon. I refused to allow my existence to be in the hands of something that was against my own desires. It was an all-out battle, and the victor would be in control of me for the rest of my life, maybe even for eternity. I fought to the death, and it wasn't fun, but I was the victor. Then I began to fear that I was dying. I felt like I didn't deserve to live, I felt like I had been rejected by my friends and something was trying to make me believe that I did not even love my family. I felt that I had been given too many chances at life and this was it. I had made the last mistake and I had to pay for it. I tried hard to stay alive. I thought about all of the reasons why I should be allowed to live. All of the things that I could do to be more healthy, to better myself. I began to breathe like a yogi or some spiritual master, imagining oxygen going through my entire body, especially to the parts that needed it the most. I rolled around on my friend's bed, stretching, breathing, rolling off the bed, getting into different positions to aid the oxygen flow throughout my body, cracking my bones and meditating. This is something that I have been doing on shrooms for many years. It's an intuitive healing process that I love, and one of my favourite benefits of doing shrooms. It seems to be a gift of the tryptamines, at least for me, and I usually begin to do it towards the end of an experience. I remembered that no one has ever died from DMT, and that helped me realise that I was just panicking. I tried to relax as I awaited my return to baseline. Finally, I was able to stand up, and it felt great. It felt like I had just peaked on an eighth of mushrooms. You know the feeling like you have just been born again with a clear mind, quick, wise, intuitive and powerful. I looked into the mirror and my pupils were still very large. I didn't really feel like I did MDMA the night before anymore, and I had a very optimistic outlook on the new year. I'm glad I conquered my fear of DMT and accepted the challenge. Even though this experience was very intense and at times difficult, I'm glad I did it, and I may do it again when I feel up to it, but I think I will stick to smoking. The experience lasted too long for my liking. DMT is not a toy. It was not a fun experience, but I like the challenge of such things from time to time. The afterglow was great, and as more time goes by, I think about the experience a little more and realise how intense it really was. It's been 24 hours since the trip and my nose is finally feeling better. I believe I did break through this time. All in all, the trip lasted about an hour, according to my friends. They said that they have never seen anyone trip so hard off 100 milligrams insufflated dose. Why? Perhaps because of the MDMA the night before, or the supplement combo I took earlier. Maybe I am sensitive to DMT, or I may just have had some things in my subconscious mind that enabled for a stronger and more demanding trip.